Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. In this video, I want to talk to you about ketosis. Now, I get a lot of questions about this, obviously, from students, but what I want to do specifically is give you the information necessary from the personal training perspective. So this is more of a nutritional coaching side of the house. The science of ketosis, using the ketogenic diet as an effective way to burn body fat, all information that is easily accessible now, pretty much anywhere you go on the internet. None of this stuff is really difficult to understand. Ketosis itself is a normal metabolic condition that the body goes into. There's absolutely nothing unsafe about it. To be honest with you, there's nothing wrong with going into ketosis. The problem, of course, is if for some reason diabetics, for instance, have this can have this issues, they'll go into what's known as ketoacidosis. But once again, that is the science part of it. Nutritional science has pretty much given us all the information we need when it comes to understanding this metabolic condition, right? Ketosis is the body's protective mechanism, so to speak, because for the most part, ketosis or the metabolic condition is normally associated with, well, prior to the modern ketogenic diet, starvation, right? And so if human beings, whatever their situation was, whatever the environment was, if they couldn't eat food, you go into starvation, well, that would throw the body into this protective metabolic state known as ketosis. And for the most part, it has to do with the total amount of carbohydrates that are being consumed. So the normal combination is starvation, right? If you look at starvation, what is it? A lack of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. In other words, a lack of food. But what we know now from the nutritional science perspective is that ketosis can really be attained through just the elimination of carbohydrates. So instead of starving an individual, you just have to remove, eliminate, or at least reduce significantly the total amount of carbohydrate sugars that you are consuming in your diet. And you will essentially uh, assume this metabolic condition known as ketosis. Again, if you want to read up on the science of it, very interesting. There's nothing wrong with the metabolic state. It's a normal protective mechanism, and I say that so you understand that it's not. It was never right. Starvation's not good, but ketosis was never physiologically designed to be something or a metabolic condition that was to be extended. The only reason people can live in a ketotic state today is because you can eat proteins and fats and just eliminate or again reduce your carbohydrates. So nothing wrong with that. People do it all the time. I've known people that have lived in this sort of ketotic state for extensive periods of time. Okay, good for you. If that works for you, that's great. Now, let me take this step over here into the context of a personal trainer. Now, remember, you're getting tons of information on how to do the ketogenic diet or any of these other quote diets. And you're thinking, wow, let me try this on myself and perhaps on my clients. No, do not do it. That's the point of the video is I want to give you from the perspective of a coach, nutrition coach, or just from a personal training perspective. The ketogenic diet that is not what you want to do or even recommend to your clients. Keep in mind, your clients come in all shapes and sizes, all different levels of body fat. The ketogenic diet itself, or putting somebody into a state of ketosis, is definitely something that would be warranted if they are under the care of a physician and they are morbidly obese, right? 30 or higher in the BMI scale. And even then, not really sure they're going to do that necessarily. But you understand, I'm giving you the personal training perspective. You are taking money from somebody and helping them in their fitness and their wellness. So the one thing you do not want to do is start putting people on diets, no matter how valid they have been discussed by experts and professionals. The only time you would ever ever do something like that with a client, and I'm talking about true ketosis, where you're consuming less than 50 grams, 40, even 30 grams of complex carbohydrates or any carbohydrates during the day, that is significantly low. The only time you would ever do that is under the care of a physician. And that's the only time I would ever do that. You understand your scope of practice as a personal trainer, because that's what this is really coming down to. And where trainers go wrong is they step outside their scope of practice. Stay in your lane. This is why we go with Body Design University. We talk about the 40, 30, 30, right? 40% carbs, 30% calories from protein, 30% from fat. Is that the ideal, perfect way to do it? No, because there is no perfect ideal. But the point here is that I'll have students ask me consistently, well, is it safe? Should I do it? My clients are obese, yada, yada, yada. And my answer is no. You go center of the road, right? And you get people to eat multiple meals during the day. Of course, there's pushback on any particular dogmatic stand you take on nutrition. You can always get somebody to say you're wrong. That's not the best way to do it. Don't go by that. As a trainer, as a professional fitness trainer, your job is to stay within your scope of practice and constantly learn and understand more and more about the nutritional sciences. What we do know is that for the most part, the vast majority of people that we deal with are already metabolically sick. They are. And if they're overweight, right, overweight, over fat, they are metabolically sick. If there's any issues related to a medical or clinical perspective, that's for physicians to take care of, not for you to do that. Okay. You got to stay within your scope of practice. If a physician, just as for instance, they're a general practitioner or whatever, whoever they're dealing with, tells your client, you're going to want to need to follow sort of this nutritional plan, whatever the case is, you abide by that. And you can talk to, if you can talk to them, talk to their doctor about why they're doing that. And there's nothing wrong with collaborating or at least asking questions with your client's physician, if that's the case. So again, ketogenic diet, is there anything wrong with it? No, it's not unsafe. Anything can be problematic, but as a trainer, see, here is the shift. As a personal fitness trainer, you do not want to be putting people on diets to begin with. And this goes back to what I was talking about with scope of practice. You're helping people from a behavioral change perspective. Okay. Stay in your lane. Use what we know works for the vast majority of human beings that we deal with that are at some level metabolically sick. And what I'm saying is that they consume too much sugars in their diet, processed foods. They don't consume enough proteins. They're consuming fats that are not of high quality. And again, we want to make sure they're consuming too much salt. We want to make sure that we are helping them from a behavioral change perspective. When you step over into a pattern of dieting, what have you just done? Now you've got your client, this individual now thinking about something different than what their normal eating patterns look like. So the ultimate goal from the personal training perspective is not to go on the ketogenic diet. It's not to put them on this diet or that diet. It's to help them to understand that behaviorally, they're not going off the rail. They're going to establish a pattern of eating behaviors that they'll be able to do daily, every day, weekly, monthly, for the rest of their lives, because that is the ultimate goal. And you got to tell your clients that right from the get-go, because they're going to ask you questions. Well, what about this diet? What about this diet? By the way, a lot of your clients have done most of these. Trust me, I've seen it 1,000 times if I've seen it once. The goal, of course, is behavioral change. And so your job from the training perspective is help them establish those behavioral changes, right? Meals, number of meals, types of foods, and again, sort of the percentage or the macronutrient percentage, and then the elimination of other foods. Okay, so removing as much as they can. I mean, everybody starts at their own spot, but getting them to eliminate foods from their diet, right? Of course, we do cheat meals 1 day a week, whatever it is you're doing with those, and that's kind of the idea. So again, students ask me consistently about the ketogenic diet, about the Mediterranean diet, about all of these diets. Do yourself a big favor from a training perspective. As a professional, you are basically having people pay you for your expertise. Stay in your lane, give them proper information about nutrition that is going to establish a lifestyle behavior that does not go off the rails on these different diets just to lose an extra 5 or 10 pounds. Yes, it takes longer. Absolutely, it takes longer. But because it takes a little bit longer, generally the fat loss is what we're looking for. The weight loss itself will come generally from body fat itself. That is the point that I want you to take away from this video. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment box. By the way, if this did make sense, then type the word understand in there as well. Remember to subscribe to our channel, share the video as well. We'd love to have other folks outside of the training world actually see what we talk about here as well. Let us know how we can be of assistance. Have a great week. We will see you next week. Thanks.